What's up, family? Welcome back to another episode of the Dag Life podcast here at the D. Nagular Group. Today's very special guest that will be joining us on episode 2 of Dag Life podcast is my man, my homie, my friend, Mr. Richard Villareal.
What's going on, bro?
What's up, guys?
How are you doing?
Happy to be here, man.
Yeah, I'm stoked. I know we've talked a couple times about getting this set up. I know the full production and scale going into this is something that we've been excited about for a little bit of time, and I know there's a lot of fun that we're going to have on the show, and very excited to sit down and chat with you today. Obviously, we've grown a great friendship over the last couple of years since you've been on the team. So jumping right into kind of obviously since you've been a part of the team.
Yeah.
And since you've been in real estate for a handful of years now, talk to me a little bit about your journey and what made you transition to real estate from what you were doing prior.
Hell yeah. Well, first off, super happy to be here, man. I'm glad to finally see this come into fruition and be one of the first guests here. So
hell yeah.
Kudos to you for getting this kicked off. But
appreciate that.
Yeah, my journey to real estate's been a different one. I came from, well, first off, I went to college to do something completely different. Obviously, like growing up as a first generation American, you know, your families want you to either become a nurse or join the Navy, and you only have two options. And if you want to do anything other than that, you better become a doctor. And so, funny enough, went to college. I was a pre-med student, majored in biology, and thought I was going to work in the healthcare industry. And you know, I had some motivation from some family that's been in the industry that showed me that we can break those molds, right? And we can do things. We can be entrepreneurs, successful entrepreneurs here in America.
100%.
And so, you know, I've had some inspiration from people that were in real estate in my family, and you know, I thought, heck, let's break those barriers and let's see what we can do. So, you know, I got my real estate license, and it's been amazing ever since.
Dude, I love that. One, kudos to you for breaking that mold and obviously taking your own path. And similar path to mine, I grew up in a old school Italian family back in New Jersey on the Jersey Shore, right? Very blue collar family.
Yeah.
Everyone's in construction, landscaping, all that whole side of the scope. And then going on to college, being the only one from my family to go into college. And I was quickly on a path to become a high school history teacher and football coach.
Wow.
And those plans changed very quickly once I went from community college to my four-year university. And there was always just something that I had that feeling, just like yourself, of changing the scope and the course of the direction of life that I wanted to go. And that made me go into business. And that there's a whole much longer story than that. I've only been in real estate for a couple of years now. So talk to me a little bit about, because we often talk about, you know, mindset is so important into like the life you're trying to live compared to what you are living, right?
Of course.
Being the person that changes the generational path for yourself and your future family, what was the transition and process like for you personally in terms of saying, hey, this is no longer the path I want to take. This is where I need to go because I'm going to be most fulfilled and happy. So what was that process like?
Yeah, well, you know, if I told you it was the easy path, I'd be lying for sure.
100%.
There were definitely some dark days in the beginning of it all, and trying to kind of establish a foundation for my mindset was super important. I think I came into the industry, you know, with the fear of not knowing when you're gonna make it or how you're gonna make it, and
like most of us.
Absolutely. And ultimately, like, you just got to take it day by day, and I think that's the most important part. Is, you know, as cliche of it is to say, you know, you got to be 1% better every day. We're never regressing backwards. If I can learn one new thing that's going to help me tomorrow, I think my future will look a lot brighter than I expected it to. So
for sure. And I think part of that too, to compound on top of like the 1% better every day, it's getting 1% better every day, but also applying 1% better every day, right?
Absolutely.
So often we talk, especially with the team here, is we can coach, we can train, we can support, we can do all these things to help put you in a position to succeed at the highest level as possible, but we can't be the players out in the field for you, right?
Of course.
So applying and executing comes with everything, essentially. So in terms of, you know, some of your toughest moments or the hardest challenge or the easiest path, not necessarily easy, but transition-wise, what were some of the things that you felt were most proponents to your success from an execution perspective that made you get to where you are now?
I think for me, like, the most important part was I was going into this, you know, just, I've always been a confident speaker my whole life. I've been able to influence people my whole life. And like, I think like that has done well for me because I've been in leadership roles all throughout my life, whether it's through sports, academic, college, clubs, things like that. And so I knew that if I just continue like betting on myself, that things would work out eventually, right?
And they usually do.
Absolutely. And so, you know, I always bet on myself, and there's nobody that's going to go out there and tell me when to wake up, tell me when to clock in. tell me when to go show homes, tell me when to write those contracts, right? It's all me, and I think you have to have that motivation early on, and if you don't, it's okay. You can learn it, but ultimately, the quicker you realize that you are your own boss and you create your own success, eventually you're going to see it through. So
100%. And one of my favorite quotes is, as corny and cliche as it is, by Eric Thomas, aka E.T. the Hip Hop Preacher, is "You owe you."
Yeah, for
Literally,
sure.
you owe you. It's you versus you. Nobody else owes you shit. And
Yep.
if you don't go out and take it, essentially the life that you want to live, nobody's going to give it to you, right?
I agree.
So in terms of, and correct me if I'm wrong, were you not the president of your fraternity in college?
we don't talk about those days, but
we'll leave that for all said.
yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
I was.
In terms of like your journey in choosing DAG, going on 3 years now?
Yeah,
Go
we're
3 years this summer?
3 years this summer, so
That's exciting.
It's been a journey.
So
Yeah.
it's been quite a ride, man. I remember the day you and Rusty joined. So talk to me a little bit about what ultimately led you to want to come aboard DAG and be a part of what we're building here.
Yeah, ultimately, I think it was very culture shocking for me at first. Obviously, shout out to my boy Rusty. We got our real estate license pretty much on the same day. We joined the same brokerage when we first got licensed, and we really tried to create this brand for ourselves, thinking that was what was super important early off in the career, but we didn't have any fundamentals to back it up. And so, we had our own office in downtown. We're trying to build a brand and a team together, and we just had no experience, and we had no influence on like how we want our career to look. And so we're just like these tiny little baby seeds, trying to figure out what is our form going to look like. And so we did that for 2 years. We found a little bit of success in it, but finally, by the grace of God, we came across DAG. And ultimately, like when we first took that interview, I remember Dean telling me, like, showed up in a 3-piece suit, and he was like, first of all, ditch the suit, because that's not how we are
here,
right? Everybody's wearing flip-flops and some beach shorts, and it was so funny. And as soon as like I came to the first few meetings, I was like, all right, this is family. Like, I could see myself here long term. And not only just the culture aspect, but the training was, it was second to none, right? For us, we tried to learn all that within 2 years
On your own.
and on our own, right? And so coming to DAG, it like reiterated you could cut the corner and not have to make the same mistakes that everybody else has, because we have such a great team and so much experience here that you could essentially cut that corner, right?
And I think we tell it all the time, right? Especially for me as like the head of recruiting or attraction, whatever, the number of conversations we have about, why DAG. And it's never about this is why you should join DAG.
Yeah.
It's always about, and Gil and I talk about this all the time, it's this is who we are.
Yeah.
This is what we're about. This is the path we're taking. This is where we're headed. If this is something you want to pursue, come check it out.
Absolutely.
It's never about this is why you should join DAG. Sometimes it's about this is why you shouldn't join DAG.
Absolutely.
Because for a lot of people, it doesn't make that kind of sense. But in terms of like, obviously the perspective of the team, what has been the biggest takeaway from you in your almost 3 years being here?
For me, it's you never have to suffer in silence. Like Dean tells us that all the time. Like this has been, since I've gotten my license, I've had to go through COVID. We've had to go through kind of the interest rate changes from 2% all the way up to 8%.
Yeah.
And so we've been faced with so much adversity in this business, and that you're never going through it alone. Everybody in the market feels the pain at some level, whether you're a top producer or somebody just getting licensed. And that for us here at DAG, like you never suffer in silence. We're all going through it together, and we're all going to find a way out of it together.
Yeah.
And so that's what's really kept me like, buttoned down and committed to this.
For sure. And I think we've all seen the ebbs and flows, the peaks and valleys, like every single one of us.
Sure.
We've all gone through bad times, hard times, but I think the thing that we all continue to lean back to is the support that we have to kind of lift each other up.
Absolutely.
And a lot of us are on track for the best year of our lives
For sure.
in terms of real estate career,
Yeah.
right? And I think it comes down to one of the cool things that we've seen on the team, and something that I preach a lot to the people that we train on Thursdays, is there's two types of realtors in terms of real estate being accustomed to your life. It's you either want real estate to happen if
For
it
sure.
happens or works out, or you need real estate to happen.
Yeah.
It's burn the bridges, burn the ships. It's plan A, there's no plan B.
Yeah.
And I think we've been able to see the people that have made it through those waves of trial and tribulation and heading towards excellence are the people that we love having a part of the team as a family here, and in the direction that we're heading, kind of building. Crazy to say that we're still building what we are building.
It's nuts.
going from, when I started 20 agents to now we're well over 100 agents and just kind of growing it from there. So it's been super exciting, and all of us have our own takeaways of like what we're excited about.
Of course.
For
course.
you,
Yeah.
well, I want one personal thing, because we know what that's going to be, and one real estate related focus for 2020 year that you're super fucking stoked for.
So obviously, I'm getting married.
Yeah, you are.
To the love of my life this year.
Fuck yeah.
We're 17 days away from getting married, and
Love
so this
that.
is a big chapter for me. We're super excited for it. I've just been in a position, like real estate has made me blessed that I could give her the wedding that she wants.
Shout out to Nicole.
Shout out to Nicole. I love you. But outside of kind of like my personal life in real estate specifically, I do kind of want to just break through some of those personal goals that I've set out for myself.
Right.
So reaching, a certain amount of transactions, which I won't share. But we're on track for it. So I'm super excited for
That's
it.
all that
Matters, man.
Oh,
You
yeah.
said it earlier, right? 1% better every day, but also applying and executing every day. And it's one thing that we continue to see, especially from being such a diverse crew of agents that have been licensed for 6 weeks
Yeah.
to agents that have been in the business for 30 years. It's cool to see how people at all different levels are still operating, and everyone has their own way of executing and their own goals to reach, and how everyone's supportive of that in each other's way, right? So in terms of like, where you're at now compared to where your outlook was going into college, so on and so forth out of high school, you could look back and talk to 18-year-old Rich heading to where you're at right now. What is the biggest takeaway and piece of advice you'd like to give him?
I think it's always just like following what it is that makes me happy,
Mhm.
because I think growing up in an Asian American family is you're always doing what makes everybody else happy. And I finally found what has made me happy. And if I can continue to just chase that every single day, like I think I'm going to find a place of fulfillment in my life.
For sure.
And so the number one thing is just stay consistent. Stay consistent. Keep taking risks, because ultimately, like, that's going to pay dividends for what you want your life to look like in the future.
For sure, right? And when
Yeah.
it comes to consistency, it's let the main thing be the main thing.
Yeah.
And the two main things in life are being consistent and having the discipline
sure.
to remain consistent, right, throughout as you go. In terms of obviously creating your own path and leaving your own legacy, and creating fulfillment and happiness, because everybody has their own version of what happiness and fulfillment looks like.
Yeah.
You mentioned what it means to you. Talk to me a little bit about, in terms of looking at that down the road. After you and Nicole get married, maybe some
Yeah.
future kids down the road, and we're heading towards the path of legacy Rich and
Yeah.
Nicole, or legacy
Yeah.
Rich, in terms of where we're headed, where you're headed in your career, based on what real estate has provided you so far,
Yeah.
and what you ultimately want for your own fulfillment and happiness. Legacy.
Yeah.
What does that look like to you, and how important is that to you?
For me, it's just empowering others to be the best version of themselves.
Mhm.
Whatever that may be. I think at the end of the day, like, don't do something that you don't love because somebody else wanted you to do it.
Right.
And empower the people around you, because you once were that brand new agent who had no idea what they were doing. And I think paying it forward to the next generation is only going to keep this business alive. It's going to keep our industry healthy. And so if I could have just an ounce of just whatever I can give back from my experiences to the next person, I know that when the people of the next generation come into our industry, they're going to be safe in good hands. So
Love that. And Gil and I talked about it last week, right? Is always continuing to be the people who still pay it forward.
Absolutely.
And still give the advice and support, right? We're not in the 60s, 70s, 80s of real estate, even 90s, early 2000s,
Yeah.
of I can't give you my secret sauce.
Absolutely.
At the end of the day, we're all in this thing together, and
Yeah.
being able to be a part of a team with people like yourself and Gil and the rest of the crew, where we are sharing all the good stuff, all the bad stuff, all the wins,
Yeah.
the losses, support, and really just
Yeah.
kind of lifting each other up. Because at the end of the day, whatever real estate team you're on,
Yeah.
the team goes as the agents go.
Absolutely.
And if we're not helping each other and helping each other in the field, because we're all a team together, right?
Absolutely.
We all want everyone across the finish line, whether it's buyers or sellers. So kudos to you for that. I love the energy, and I love the output, and learning more a little bit about you. And
Hell
we'll
yeah.
talk more about you being a fraternity head down the road. Anything else you wanna share?
Not really. At the end of the day, like what you said, I think there's enough market share for us all to be successful. Do want to share? Do have a listing right now.
Okay.
Fresh on the market last weekend, 7974 Arley Court, Unit 5. We got that up in Santee. And so that one's going to be going, or it's actually live now.
Nice.
So when everybody sees this, it'll be live. So yeah, super excited for that. And then few listings in the pipeline that everybody's gonna see. So stay tuned.
Yeah, love
Yeah, love to hear about it. Well, thanks for joining me today, bro.
Oh yeah, brother.
Appreciate
Thanks for
you.
having me.
Excited to get you on. Thank you guys for joining us for another episode of Dag Life Podcast. We'll see you next time.
Peace.